Welcome to Tattletale. Here's today's story, The Assistant. It was supposed to be just a job. I was a single dad, juggling freelance design gigs while raising my 8-year-old son, Luca. We lived in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment in the city, just enough space to survive, not enough to breathe. When the email offer came in, I thought it was a scam. Executive assistant to the CEO of Calderon Industries. Competitive pay. Flexible hours. Confidentiality required. Calderon Industries wasn't just any company. It was one of those towering monoliths you read about in Forbes, multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, private jets, armored limos, and a founder so reclusive, no one had seen him in person in over a decade. But the recruiter was real. The interview was real. And 2 days later, I was sitting in a sleek black sedan being driven to the company's private headquarters located an hour outside the city. That was the first time I met her. Vivian Calderon. She was nothing like I expected. In her late 40s, maybe, with sharp eyes that looked through you instead of at you. She wore no jewelry, no makeup, and greeted me with a handshake so firm it made me forget my own name. "You come highly recommended, Mr. Hale," she said. "I don't need someone to schedule meetings. I need someone who can keep secrets. Do we understand each other?" I nodded. And just like that, I was in. I didn't know then what I'd signed up for. But I'd learned soon enough. Day one came with rules. No cell phones in the building. No unauthorized communication with anyone about work, ever. Vivian handed me a company-issued device, encrypted and barely functional beyond internal calls, and assigned me a non-disclosure agreement that was 23 pages long. "You break the rules," she said, her voice like polished glass, "and you disappear. Figuratively, I hope. But our lawyers are quite literal." I signed. My job wasn't hard at first, on paper, at least. I scheduled her calendar, vetted requests for meetings, filtered emails that were routed through security firewalls so tight they'd make the Pentagon jealous. But it was what I saw that started getting to me. She rarely slept. She ate the same lunch every day. She refused to meet in person with 99% of her executive team. But strangest of all, she trusted me with everything. By the end of my second week, I was reviewing quarterly financials, delivering confidential HR files, and even collecting handwritten notes she left for couriers with no digital trace. One day, I found a file left open on her desk. Project Halo, terminated. There were red stamps all over it, top secret classifications, and references to something called the Halo Initiative. I closed the folder quickly. I wasn't supposed to see it. But the name stuck in my head. That night, I asked her casually, "What's Project Halo?" She stopped typing. Looked at me like I had asked about a buried body. "Never say that name again," she said quietly. Not even to me. The next morning, the file was gone. And my keycard no longer opened the main archive room. By my fourth week, I was spending more time inside Calderon HQ than I was at home. Luca was staying with my sister for a few days, so I accepted Vivian's request to work late. I didn't question it. Until I blinked, and it was Friday. The weird thing? I had no memory of Tuesday or Wednesday. My calendar was blank. My phone logs were empty. I checked the security badge logs, something I wasn't technically allowed to access, and found a gap. No entries between Monday night and Thursday morning. "You were sick," Vivian told me when I finally asked. "You don't remember?" But I hadn't been sick. I was sure of it. I started noticing other things. A mild tremor in my left hand. Headaches that came and went in pulses. Moments where I'd stare at the clock and realize 10 minutes had passed, like I'd blinked through time. That's when I checked my bag. Inside was a vial. Small. Silver. No label. I didn't remember putting it there. I didn't tell Vivian. Not yet. But I did start keeping notes. Writing things down with timestamps. Every call, every errand, every side conversation. Just in case. Then one night, I stayed late and made a copy of the building's internal security footage. A week's worth. I watched it in my apartment with the volume muted, sweat pouring down my back. And there I was, on Tuesday morning, escorted by 2 security guards into the sublevel. I never came back up. The next thing the cameras caught was me walking out 2 days later like nothing had happened. I was smiling. But that wasn't the part that scared me. It was the timestamp, 3:03 a.m. And Vivian was standing behind me the whole time. The sublevel wasn't on any map. Calderon HQ had 10 floors above ground and 2 official sublevels for logistics and archives. But I'd been taken to a third. I tried asking around. Discreetly. Most employees wouldn't even look me in the eye when I mentioned it. One guy, a junior IT tech, muttered, "Forget it exists," before pretending he didn't know me. So I searched the building myself. I took the elevator at 2 a.m. while the security detail rotated shifts and inserted my badge. It wouldn't descend beyond B2. Until I added a paperclip to the sensor. A trick I learned in college. It fooled the magnetic strip long enough for the panel to flash once. For a split second, a new button lit up, B3. I pressed it. The elevator didn't move. Instead, it opened to a hallway I'd never seen. Clean, sterile, lined with security cameras. At the far end, a door. Heavy steel. No handle. Just a circular scanner and an engraved plaque. Authorized access only, clearance 9. My badge was level 4. I stood there, pulse racing, until I heard a sound behind me, footsteps. I turned, but the hallway was empty. The next morning, Vivian summoned me to her office. Her expression was unreadable. "Curiosity is natural," she said. "But dangerous. Especially here." She slid a new badge across the desk. "You're being promoted. With access. Use it wisely." My hands trembled as I took the card. Level 6. Still not enough to open the door. But I was getting closer. I was so consumed with Calderon's secrets, I almost forgot about my son. Luca had been staying with my sister for over a week. What started as a weekend visit stretched into 10 days. I'd been working 12 to 14-hour shifts, sleeping in the office's auxiliary room, showering in the gym upstairs. When I finally went to pick him up, he barely looked at me. "Are you mad?" I asked gently. He shrugged. "You didn't come to my game. You said you would." Guilt landed like a punch to the ribs. "I know, bud. I'm sorry. I had to work." He crossed his arms. "Mom always came." I didn't know what to say to that. His mom had passed away 3 years ago. And in that moment, I realized how much of her I'd been trying to replace, with jobs, money, distractions. When we got home, he climbed into bed without a word. I sat up that night staring at the security badge Vivian had given me. Level 6. Promotions, raises, access, they didn't matter if I lost Luca in the process. The next day, I told Vivian I needed to scale back. Just a little. She didn't react with anger. Instead, she looked at me with something almost like sadness. "Children are a gift we're never prepared to lose," she said. "You should spend time with him. Take the next 2 days. But when you return, there's something I need you to see." She handed me a folder marked Halo, observation logs. Inside were surveillance photos. Of me. And Luca. The photos weren't from company security feeds. They were grainy, like surveillance taken from a distance. One showed me holding Luca's hand at a crosswalk. Another was of him riding his bike in my sister's neighborhood.